let's talk about the entrepreneur in residence role, right?
Yeah.
So, in my previous or right now, currently in the entrepreneur in residence role, whenever I mention this to people, they usually think, "Oh, you're an entrepreneur who works from home." So let's clear the air about it. As a fellow entrepreneur in residence, what it is the role offers in a tech company, which is in a urban company.
Absolutely, yeah. So the entrepreneur in residence role is, broadly speaking, it is what it sounds like. Although the residence not as in home, but like an actual company. But see, depending on the sector, from technology to B2B to B2C, entrepreneur in residence could be a very broad role. And an entrepreneur in residence basically takes care end to end of either a small business segment or a complete market, depending on the sector. And this primarily has three things, right? So, number one is, especially in tech,
Right.
number one is product development for the region. Second is marketing. And third is business and operations.
Okay.
So the core fundamentals of a business, that is what an urban company, entrepreneur in residence take care of. Yeah, so that's broadly what it is. Depending on the region, depending on sector, this could vary a little bit.
Yes.
And to draw some congruence, it's something like being in an incubator. You are given the resources. You have a borderline defined market
Yes.
or a defined product, and what you really have to do is do the 0 to 1 journey for a product or the complete company in the region. And see, any business goes through the 0 to 1 and 1 to 10 journey.
Correct.
So
What are
EIR,
these?
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt, but what are these 0 to 1, 1
Yeah.
to 10
absolutely.
stages?
So 0 to 1 is something where you know vaguely that this is your market, but you're not really sure what are you going to offer them.
Okay.
What is going to attract your customers or user towards the product, and how are you going to make a business out of it.
Okay.
So the 0 to 1 journey is really figuring that out.
Right.
What should be your product? Who is your customer specifically? What are you going to talk about in your marketing campaigns or your product? How is it going to make sense for you in a business?
This is really just developing your MVP and getting your proof of concept, right?
Absolutely. So it's the MVP stage where you have proof of concept that a couple of people are buying my services.
Yes.
Either right now or at scale, I'm able to make money out of this per unit of transaction that I do. So that's really the 0 to 1 journey. And EIR is essentially someone who takes this journey for a company.
Definitely, and I can probably chime on that also.
Yeah.
Over here in my role, it was basically a tried and tested product, which is like urban company also in India, right? So we are past the MVP stage because we have a good product which we know that works, but it's about expanding to a new market and just testing the waters in the sense what actually they want and probably doing some tinkering along the way. So the customers in this part of the region or whichever market you're going to, they adapt and they accept the product.
Question.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Question for both of you. Maybe you can tag team this answer. But when you're pitched with all these opportunities for an entrepreneur in residence role, and you have an opportunity where it's got a track record of being successful elsewhere, how much more does that convince you to choose that as an opportunity?
Yeah, I think fair question. See, when you know that the product has been tested in a market, that doesn't necessarily mean it will be successful, especially for the product like home services B2B market, right? Where whenever your customer is whenever you're in a direct to consumer market, things shift drastically from region to region or product to product. So like it does convince you a little bit of not the proof of concept, but the fact that this team has the resources to make something successful in a market. So those resources is what actually convinces you that I will have a year, 2 year, 3 years of resources to try and test it out and do iterations.
Why does it differ so much with B2C? Is it because cultures change, but perhaps when it's B2B, business premises don't
Probably
really
I can
change too
touch
much?
on that. For example, the business that I expanded here was B2B. So with the B2C, right, it's much simpler because you do get access to the customers directly. And for example, of Indian startups which expanded to the UAE for Zomato per se. So it already exists in different parts of the world. and it's not very difficult for, let's say, the end customer to comprehend how to use this product, and it's very intuitive. So that really helps in the process. But if it's B2B, the challenges are different. The mindset is different. So B2B tends to be a little more difficult than B2C in this part of the world, from my experience. But
Yeah,
Aman can
absolutely.
touch
So
on
in especially markets which are highly regulated, like Saudi, has very different rules and regulations, varying depending on business, right? But see, B2B, to sum it up what you said, B2B mainly competes on cost,
Yes.
region to region, right? For B2C, it mainly competes on innovation, quality, some aspects cost, right? So the cost might remain the same region to region, but the other things like innovation and what is a good quality for me versus someone from a different culture varies, and it's very subjective. So that's the reason why this gets a little more challenging.